just the camera and you can go ahead and. All right, hi everyone. I call this meeting to order and we're gonna move on to roll call now. Commissioner Anissa. Okay, Commissioner Archit.
Here.
Commissioner Ashley.
Here.
Commissioner Ion.
Here.
Commissioner Brandon, I'm sorry. Commissioner Caleb. Commissioner Ethan.
Here.
Commissioner Jolie.
Here.
Commissioner Monvik. Commissioner Mason.
Here.
Commissioner Miles.
Here.
Commissioner Samita.
Here.
Commissioner Sarah. Okay, and Commissioner Sophie, I'm here. Commissioner Yasmin. All right, and Anissa's here now. So we will now open this meeting up to public comment. And it seems that there is none. So now we will have the approval of last meeting's minutes. So if everyone could just look over last meeting's schedule, agenda, make sure everything's correct, everything's according.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Great, great. So okay, so Mason first and Ion second. We're gonna go around and if you approve the minutes, say aye. And if you disapprove the minutes, if there's a mistake, say nay.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Anissa.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Great, now our minutes are approved. Okay, so we're gonna go over announcements. Gracie.
Yes, I'm gonna share some announcements and then. Okay. Okay. Okay, so one of the announcements that I wanted to share is there is an opportunity for anyone who's interested, and you don't have to let me know by tonight, but if you could let me know, I would say within the week of the opportunity, it's with Silicon Valley Youth Climate Action. They have a training opportunity in October that they're trying to put together. And I will share the dates with you. They're trying to do it later this month, so it is a little bit short notice, but that's why if anyone's interested in getting some of this training opportunity, they're going to be opening up in the evening. Basically, the city is working on its first climate action and adaptation plan. As the part of the effort, they're partnering with a few different programs to help support the community engagement efforts. One of the partners is the Silicon Valley Youth Climate Action. They received a mini grant from the city to lead a few youth trainings with their team and the Sierra Club. The training would likely be about 60 to 90 minutes and would include information about climate issues, what goes into a climate action adaptation plan, and ways to get involved in civic processes. And like I said, they're hoping to do that in October. Let me just see if I can grab some of the dates that they just shared that they're looking into. The 3 dates that they're trying to plan for the training for one of the following evenings would be Tuesday, October 22nd, Wednesday, October 23rd, and Thursday, October 24th. So if there's any interest from anybody, this is not required. It's truly out of interest. If you have interest, to just let me know. I'll reach out and I'll also share a reminder with everybody on Slack for this, because I know that they are wanting to know who's interested so they can have a head count, and also planning out which date and kind of solidifying a time. Just from an initial sharing of this, is there any initial interest? Doesn't lock you into anything, but is there any initial interest at all? Okay, I will check in with everybody later this week to confirm that, and I'll share more of these details in writing too, so if you want to think about it. But if there is interest, the opportunity is available to you for that. So I did want to share that announcement with all of you. And another big announcement I'll be talking more about in one of our new businesses later, but again, we'll be talking about more of the Oktoberfest Fun Run. But part of that announcement will be talking about volunteering and the need for volunteering. We'll talk about youth commission's role specifically for that, but they are in great need of volunteers. So the announcement would be this opportunity is great for if you have any other friends or people that you know that are interested in volunteering. It is open to everybody. So please share that opportunity. It's a great chance for them if they need volunteer hours. We have a lot of other people that come and volunteer with us for other events, and Oktoberfest is a great way to do that, especially because it's fun. If you've never been to the fun run, it is very fun. It is in the morning, so it is pros and cons. If you're not a morning person, a little bit harder. If you are, though, it's a great opportunity because basically it's from like 8 in the morning to about 11:30. So that way you still have the rest of your weekend to do whatever you want to do. So it is a great opportunity for those hours to have fun. It's really good time out there at Campbell Park. So just wanted to share that. And I'll share the sign up link with everybody in Slack. You can share that link with any friends or any other students you know who need volunteer hours or just want to get involved. It's a great opportunity for that. And we'll talk more about Fun Run as we go further in the agenda too. But those are basically my two big announcements.
Okay, so we're going to move on to old business now, and our first item is the work plan discussion, where we will be talking about the feedback regarding the ideas we submitted in our subcommittee.
Perfect. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about this too. We'll be talking about it as a full committee, but I did want to share some feedback. So I did review and I brought them with us tonight. Everybody's worksheet that they brought or that they made at the subcommittee meetings a couple weeks ago. I shared these with our team and our management team as well for their feedback and their review, to just kind of make sure everything looks on target, that we're following the goals. One, the goals that we talked about at our orientation meeting, and making sure that they're aligning with what your subcommittee is and kind of looking at that. So we're going to be talking about each of those in more depth tonight. I think this will be one of the biggest parts of the meeting for this evening. We'll be kind of talking through some of these. I'm going to start off with our health subcommittee. So our health subcommittee, and I'll have them chime in as well. Basically, there are two things that they shared. So they're big events. So if you kind of remember, I asked you all to really highlight a bigger event that you're planning to work on, and then something that's going to be a little bit more of a passive event, something that or partnership that you're going to be working on. So not necessarily reinventing the wheel. So for them, as you know, they're planning to do some type of teen wellness day event. So I think that sounded great. Shared that with our management team. Everyone loves, I think last year was great. And I think this is a good opportunity to really make this the 2.0 version and really expand upon Teen Wellness Day. Their committee shared wanting to potentially do this event in March and partner it. Last year, we had it happen on the community center here does an open house in March. And that day basically, it's kind of like how you have open house at school. It's an opportunity for the community to come here and see everything that we offer at the community center. We have it in the morning here at March. We bring a lot of our contractors and programs here. So an opportunity for the community to just kind of come see, check out, get information, check out our preschool, check out the facilities and all of that. And so they expressed interest in having Wellness Day happen on that same date as last time. That date is set now for next year, so it will be on March 1st. So wanted to share that with everybody and the health subcommittee, if everyone's still on board to lock March 1st down for your Teen Wellness Day. If everyone's on board with that for Teen Wellness Day. Because if you're interested in wanting to confirm that, I think it worked out really well having that on the same day. Last year, it basically just helps bringing a little bit more traction to the event because there's already a lot of community people that are here on our campus. And so it's more visibility to have more teens kind of walk through and make their way over to Teen Wellness Day. I thought worked out well last year. So if your committee is good for that, wanted to check in. And then I know it's hard to believe, but we'll start reserving stuff now because those spaces get reserved lickety split and are already getting reserved. So wanted to touch base with who's our health subcommittee again? Perfect. Brandon Monbig. Awesome. Does that sound like a good plan for your committee?
Let me check my calendar.
The day March 1st is.
It would be a Saturday, I believe. I'll triple check, but I'm like 99.9% sure it will be. Yep, it's a Saturday, March 1st.
That should be okay. I think. Let me put that on.
And obviously for this event, it would be full commission participation. But obviously the health committee is the team that's going to be spearheading this. So definitely want to make sure that those commissioners are the ones that are 100% as of right now, good to go for that date. And then we'll make sure that everyone else is good too. Awesome. Perfect. So that's exciting. Basically, March 1st, we'll plan for a Teen Wellness Day. And at the next subcommittee meeting, I'll touch base with your group of kind of really fine tuning and starting to get that timeline in place of all the different things that have to happen between now and March 1st, because it will come up surprisingly very fast. As an update for everyone else, for health subcommittee, their second piece that they submitted for their more passive event was also similar to, for those of you who are returning commissioners from last year, of doing another type of social media safety week. So last year, for those of you who aren't aware of what they did last year they basically did a whole week of social media with safety tips each day of the week and different things that they showcased. And so the health subcommittee wants to focus on different partnerships with PD and fire, going over more drug awareness and sharing safety tips and things like that. They also shared swimming safety. So I know we still have time to fine tune what that looks like. I know that committee shared having that safety week social media happen in January. So again, that will be here before we know it. So we'll talk about that more in this next subcommittee meeting later this month. But did want to share that with the whole commission of those are basically their two events that they're planning to move forward with. And we'll talk a little bit more closely about the social media safety week looks like, make sure everything kind of looks most relevant and touch base with the whole group here of things that you think would also be the most relevant and safety concerns for teens and partnerships with that. But other than that, I think health subcommittee, great job overall. I think these both sound like good plans. Obviously, a lot of work to do for both of them. But I do like the Wellness Day event themes already thought out, very aligned with your subcommittee and your goal. And their goal was to promote and encourage mental and physical wellness and to improve overall safety skills of the community. So I think both those events really tie into that. So great job. And I know we'll move forward and diving deeper into those in subcommittees. Next, we're going to jump into communities subcommittee. So for our community subcommittee, let me pull yours up. Also, I think, first of all, everyone did a great job. I think there are a little bit of fine tuning for the community subcommittee. When I shared the events, the two events that were proposed, so let me start there and I'll kind of backpedal, was the big event to be like a community cleanup and in partnership with our PD. And then the more passive events would be having more of, again, a social media presence and having it be a goal of twice a month of having everything focused around community, sharing information, and really just having a stronger presence on social media. So that way teens are just more informed about different community things that are going on, opportunities, volunteer opportunities, and really having that presence there. And then also there was interest in having some type of partnership with the Career and Education Committee as well for the Opportunity Fair, which we'll talk about in a little bit. So that's kind of what was shared. I think from an initial standpoint, this subcommittee did a great job of walking everything through. I did want to come back with some feedback and share some things to just kind of keep in mind with some of those events. And that's kind of what we'll talk about as your subcommittee and as a whole commission this evening. So things to consider with the park cleanup. So I love the idea in theory of they shared of like having the park cleanup, and having a prize for the most trash that was picked up and having it weighed. In theory, love that idea. In reality, the part that I just kind of want to highlight is looking at, which is a very good problem to have. How much trash do you see when you go into like Campbell Park?
Not much.
Not much, which is, this is a great problem to have. Like the Campbell is a very clean city. They do a phenomenal job, the staff, of really keeping the city pretty overall clean and cleaner than a lot of other cities. Do I think there's still room for some type of beautification project and still keeping the park clean and having a cleanup? Totally. Do I think it's as feasible of having the event be more of like, how much trash can you get and weighing it? I don't see necessarily being enough to fill big bags. I think you'll get some pieces here and there, and I still think there's areas for being able to clean up the park. Thankfully, though, here in Campbell, we're lucky enough where like, it's really not as messy of a city or a park to have that drastic of a cleanup, if that makes sense. I think there's still room for that. And I think we can still table and look at what that looks like a little bit deeper in your subcommittee meeting. But I did want to highlight to keep that in mind in terms with dates and staffing, because I know we had last year, for example, we had commission, they did a tree planting project. They partner with our public works team. So they're the ones who actually do a lot of that behind the scenes work of keeping the city clean and helping with planting all the beautiful trees and helping keeping everything green. So that could be an idea of partnering with the public works team. With that, oh, perfect. We have Caleb joining, but I'm gonna go first. Okay. Okay. So for the community subcommittee, just wanted to plant that seed. We'll talk more about it, but really kind of fine tuning what a park cleanup looks like or some type of beautification project. I think it's still totally fine to have that be one of your big projects. I think just what's something else that maybe we can make more of an impact and really kind of bringing in community. Because I know what was shared when we had our orientation way back in August was really having this piece of connectivity with community and really trying to bring that in. So I'm trying to challenge your group to kind of see how we can get more aligned with that. Because I love the idea of the park cleanup, but how can you still make it feel more connected with the community and bringing more teams together and having that's that piece of that connectivity. So I would say kind of looking at that. And then the other piece was having that partnership with the police department. I think there was talk of having them be a part of the park cleanup. I'd love to also challenge you of what's another way that you can involve them. Because these are just questions I'm posing to your group of where is their connection to the group of a park cleanup? Is it just having their presence there? Really being mindful of their time, because obviously like they have super busy schedules too. What are ways that we can really maximize their presence there and have that impact and bridging that? Because I know we shared that a lot of the goals here with having that partnership with PD was really trying to build that connection with PD and teens and having that more of an open dialogue, kind of changing perspective on everything. And so I think there's other areas where we could have more of that partnership versus them just kind of attending a park cleanup. So that's kind of when I wanted to share that feedback. Again, we can talk about this more in depth at your subcommittee meeting, but I do want your group to really start to let this feedback sink in. So that way, truly at the next subcommittee meeting, everybody's work plans are like locked in, good to go. And you can start hitting the ground running with that. Some things that you could try to do, and this is just from like quick Google searching and getting some ideas from my coworkers too, of like, you could have like police in the park, figure out what like some event revolved around that, unity in the community, try to make an event some more like maybe there's different facets to your event that you're having. pops and cones or cones with a cop, some type of ice cream with event where you can invite people to come and have ice cream with PD, coffee with a cop or cocoa with a cop. I know some of the groups have done that. Badges and boba. You could do something again, like having an opportunity to kind of bring the groups together. You can still figure out what that event looks like, but kind of really giving it an opportunity where the focus is more PD and the community and teens, and really kind of finding a way to have that involvement in that bridge there. There is another, I'll also share the link for everybody and for that committee. There's another group, which I actually just learned about, that they have a program with PD, with Campbell PD, that they take basically like volunteers that are specific to PD, like an Empower program, anywhere from like 14 years old to 21 years old. And it's more like they're shadowing the police department. So they're kind of like an unofficial PD officer. So it's another really great opportunity for teens to be involved with that. And so that's another opportunity, like maybe there's some partnership there. Maybe there's a way that you can invite them to your event to kind of have teen involvement with PD. So it's just kind of thinking through some of those things. And so I'll share some of those resources with your group. And that will be something for the community subcommittee that I'd love to see some traction in your Slack channel of talking about this over the next 2 weeks. So when we meet on October 21st, your group already is like, okay, these are like 3 things we're thinking about, and then lock them in so that way we can start hitting the ground running with those, because it will come up quickly and we'll have to space out everyone's events as best as possible. So that way not everyone's like, we all want March 1st, March 8th, March 21st. We want to avoid basically having everyone's like, I get the spring will be a little bit more top heavy with events, but we want to try to best spread out everybody's events as much as we can. And then I don't know if your group has talked about it for community. I know for your social media post for twice a month, have you thought about when you wanted to start that content plan?
No, I don't think we discussed that, but I mean, as soon as possible, probably. So whenever we can put it on the community Instagram account.
Do you have an idea on what you want to post about?
No, like reasons that it was like volunteer opportunities there aren't.
Well, there's one this month at an elementary school I used to go to, and it's, yeah, the Forest Hill one.
That's very cool, like just commenting on one post or story, like twice a month, so then like people let teens know. Cause I know that used to both me or my friends who go to on or like other schools.
Well-
Volunteer opportunities.
Yeah, that's great. Usually when we make a post, like whoever makes it will make it on a slide or on a Canva, and then we'll share it with Gracie, and then Gracie will be able to post it, because I don't know if we're able to actually give like access. Yeah. Okay, so did you guys want to start that this month, since I hear there's a lot of opportunities over? Okay, great.
So then I would say for your group, if you're planning to start that, of start sharing in your Slack channel, and then obviously we'll have the next subcommittee on the 21st. But if you're trying to do that by like the end of this month or start of November, it'll still be really quick. So you'll want to figure out what's your plan of where are you getting your sources and resources, what you're planning to post. If it is, or especially for the first one, because it'll be kind of your almost like your kickoff onto social media, of thinking of maybe is there a fun way that you can theme this first post and then have that information. So starting to think about that, so that way, especially if this is something that you're trying to have this consistent presence on social media, of really kind of like taking that opportunity to introduce what this is, instead of just a post of like, oh, here's volunteer opportunity. Like we want to kind of almost launch you into, for lack of a better word, into social media of like, great, this is Youth Commission. We're going to be sharing volunteer opportunities every month or twice a month and sharing things in our community. It could be community impacts too. Great opportunity for you to all kind of get more connected in your school as well, of like, whether it's volunteer opportunities, maybe your second post in the month is someone, a cool teen story of how they made an impact in their community, and you're like doing a spotlight whatever it is, but I would really start to kind of start your map of your content because I don't know how much posting you typically all do and everything, but when you do have a consistent presence, and I don't have a super consistent presence on my social media, but like it takes work of planning out your content and looking at that ahead of time. So I would start to map that out of like, okay, what's this first post really going to be focused on? How can we kind of use this as a launch pad of really making that first presence and having it be in a fun way, and then start sharing some of those opportunities. So really start thinking about what that looks like. I think you have a lot of fun opportunities with community and having this plan. I really like the idea of having 2 posts a month. I think it's a good amount that seems realistic as well. So I think that will be great. I think the biggest piece for you all right now will just be mapping out what's your content plan and kind of figuring out how you're going to source that, because it's harder than it looks of trying to figure that out so that you can make it creative and relative. And we can talk more about that. And I'm happy to touch base with your group, but that's where we have these Slack channels now. And that's where like, I want to see a lot of you kind of using those as your think tanks to chat with everybody too.
I think this idea is really great to boost community involvement. Just like a little thing, if we could include the links to where to sign up or some little note on just where, so people know where they can sign up for this instead of just.
Like post actually, or like to have like actual post, you do like a Canva. Print of the
Yes.
poster, and then on the description, it's called like, you can have the links.
Great.
I know like through email.
That's perfect. Yes. Okay.
Perfect. Awesome. Okay. Any questions for the community subcommittee group from anyone else too? Because I know these are all ideas that not everyone has heard yet, but was shared at the subcommittees. Yeah, yes.
Should be useful for like reaching the younger audience, since a majority of people who follow the city's Instagram are like a bunch of old people. Like, do you guys have an idea?
I was planning to just like tell my friends to repost the post, or like having or talking to my friends. I know at least like, I don't know, like bringing one of my friends and they would talk about it to the school, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's a good opportunity too of sharing Campbell recreations, because I know that will be as just a FYI, because I think I talked to some of the groups at least that were interested in doing social media. We can't have our own like Campbell Youth Commission social media, and it can't be run by all of you. It will be something that like you will help to create the content. We'll work together. Then I will post it on your behalf on our Campbell Recreation social media accounts. So finding ways to, again, of like, what demographic is it typically reaching? How can we make it bigger so it is more relevant and cool, so more teens follow it, or at least they're following it. And when it pops up on their story, at least they're getting more visibility and traction that way. And that's also where, as you all get towards all of your events, will be on all of you to really find ways to make it exciting to advertise. So for the success of all the events, like our team will obviously be posting on our accounts, but really what gets the word out is all of you. So the success of your events really rides on how all of you like are spreading that word of mouth with your friends, with your school, with your teachers, sharing in your morning announcements, reposting things. Like there's a whole triage of different things that you all can do. And I'm open to other creative ways if you think of them. Like I would love to hear other ideas that you have. I know Yasmin, you shared that you like to edit things and videos, and I would love to see like, great, are there ways we can make a fun, like, is there a fun reel or a TikTok template or something you could, I don't know, I don't make them that much. But if there's one there, yeah, this is really cool and hip and relevant right now, like, can we recreate that? Can we do something like that where you think people would actually want to watch it? Like, I would much rather have things get posted that's gonna have that visibility instead of we put something out there that you're like, oh, teens are gonna, that's lame, crazy. Like this is where I will lean on all of you because my social media scrolling is like dog videos. So like, I really want to turn to all of you of what works, what gets your attention, what gets your friends' attention, so that they can see and hopefully get all this great information that you're trying to share, or get the word out for the events that you're all trying to host. So really, it's a partnership, but it really is a lot on all of you to help share that with each other, your friends, and then with us, so that way we can get that out there and get it made, and I'll help to keep you on track with all of those too. But great questions so far, and I wanted to share their subcommittee goal before we go to our last subcommittee. So their goal was empower the youth to have input on community matters by providing more service opportunities, enabling direct contact through engaging through social media content, and advertising community and youth commission events in an appealing manner. So that was their subcommittee goal. So I think that also seems pretty spot on with what they're trying to cultivate here. I think it just needs a little bit of fine tuning and reworking with some aspects of it. Overall, again, great job. I think just again, we'll kind of rework some of those pieces. Okay, last but not least, career and education subcommittee. So for this committee, I do want to revisit. I know we all shared at our very first meeting that kind of their big event would be Opportunity Fair. And that the Opportunity Fair would focus on obviously job opportunities, different volunteer opportunities, just ways to really get connected and involved in the area for teens. Because I know from our previous job for last year, successful in attendance, but obviously not as many opportunities for the amount of attendees. It's really hard when jobs usually only take 16 to 18, and a lot of our demographic is 16 and younger is like a good sweet spot for a lot of our community members. So what I wanted to circle back with this subcommittee group was two pieces for the Opportunity Fair. Again, really starting to look at a date for this, because I know now that we'll have the Teen Wellness Day on March 1st, starting to look at what would make sense for an Opportunity Fair. One, to give yourselves enough time, because it does take a while to get all these pieces locked in. Keeping in mind, we don't want to have it too late because businesses will start having students apply for jobs. So if you wait too long and have it in like May, some of them are already hired. So keeping that in mind with the date with that. And then I would say touching base with some of your schools, because I know like last year, at least Campbell Union High School District, they had a job fair. I think they had it towards the middle end of March, like 26 or something last year. And we want to make sure that we're not competing with something like that. We want to find ways with partnership instead of having a similar type of event offered on the same date. So again, revisiting that, I did want to touch on, and this is the part that I'd like to talk about with a full commission and then really fine tuning our subcommittee with this. With this group, I think, at least with the events proposed and the goal that was shared, I want to revisit, because when we talked at our orientation meeting, your subcommittee is career and education subcommittee. And right now the goal that was submitted was more focused on solely the career aspect and selling, like teen selling. So I know that that was something that was brought up of interest, but right now the submitted goal was aspire to give teens opportunities, which is great. And then the second piece is and support teens who want to sell things. So I don't think this goal is bad. However, when I read this goal, for me, I'm not seeing the connection to the education piece. And so that part I think is missing right now if I don't see any education component. And then I think there was the proposal of wanting to have teens sell things. However, I think that having it be part of your main goal right now is where I'm kind of losing at least the original goal. When we first were talking of and creating these subcommittees, it doesn't seem as aligned with that piece. Yes.
I feel like the whole selling thing really follows like the vocabulary of like opportunities for teams. And then touch base on the whole education part, like a possible event could be like a study hall, something.
Yeah, like, I think our idea was to have, like, one side of the roof be like for teens who want to sell, like, things they crochet or something like that. But, yeah, I agree, maybe it shouldn't be in our main goal. It should just be an add-on of our opportunities fair, and then we can find another, like, smaller partnership event for the education part.
Yeah, I think this group will be, and you can, again, I would like to see some traction before the subcommittee group, so that way, or subcommittee meeting later this month, so that way at that meeting, you're more like, all right, we're making things happen, we're getting this more in motion. I know it's easier to talk about it in person, so you can fine tune it at the meeting, but I think I'd like to see traction with your group between now and then of really kind of getting it more of a think taken, more thought out. I also wanted to circle back the selling aspect. I think for that piece, again, I love the idea of it. There are just other pieces that I want to highlight that make it a little bit more challenging and trying to figure that piece out. Just because there are some other like legal pieces of like selling, they would have to have like a selling permit. So it'd be figuring out like the participants that we have an interest there, and then looking into, and this would be stuff I can go get more research on, but at least from an initial standpoint of they would need to have some type of seller's permit. And I know that there's some pieces, and I don't know how it works with them or like from their parents' side of things, of how that they have to do something different with their taxes because they have to file it because it's a form of income. So it's just, it's those things that like, those bigger pieces that you don't first think of like, yeah, it sounds great. And now there's all these extra little pieces that go in tandem with that. So I'm not trying to crush that piece, but it is really starting to fine tune and look at that. And I don't know if you've had also like, do you know if there's a very big pool of teens that are looking to sell? Because I would also say that would be a big piece of like, I would think you'd need to have like at least 20 teens that are out there to make it worth your while of and coupling that with the opportunity fair. Because if you think of like even farmers market and things like that, if you had a stand with like 10 to 15 stands, no one's really coming out for, you want to have it be a robust display and what that looks like. So I don't know if you've heard of anything of like what the interest is, or like some of the things that they're thinking of selling. I don't know if there's been that component yet, and that's okay if there hasn't been. It's just knowing like that would be a big component to really kind of flesh out a little bit more. And knowing like, okay, let's say we do have 20 teens that are like, yes, I've been making X, Y, and Z, blah, blah, blah. Are they all now on board, that 20, 30 people, to get seller's permits? And have they talked to parents of like, okay, let's say they have this form of income, how do they put that? Just thinking of some of those things. So it's, again, I don't mean to be rain clouds on some of these pieces. It's just looking at what are those next steps. So like when I plan events for here or not my other jobs, it's just looking at, you gotta look all the way down the line of like, what happens for this to happen, for this to happen, for this to happen? How does this impact all of this? So really kind of thinking through some of those things.
I know there's a lot of, or there was at least one fair last year which was just specifically focused on teens selling whatever they made, like crocheting, because a couple of my friends participated in it. But I do think that the original goal that we had in mind with the opportunities fair, it's more for the teens in the community to go there to find opportunities instead of purchase goods from whatever the vendors are there. Because originally our goal was to help teens find jobs, like volunteer opportunities and potentially internship and shadowing opportunities. If we want to change that goal, that's completely fine, but we also want to think about if we're meeting our, not requirements, but like aspirations for this subcommittee.
I think what, I think somebody else in the subcommittee was saying too, sorry, I forgot. But he was saying that like we're kind of losing focus of what our goal is, and I agree with that too. Like, people coming there, I feel like, you know, when you're like in the grocery store and then there are like people on the side trying to sell you things, I feel like it might become like that because the goal of people like going there is to find jobs and like things that they want, not to like sell it, buy things.
I'm not a part of the career and education subcommittee, but I just have an idea that instead of like a selling thing, we can maybe do like an entry kind of contest thing, which people like submit a pitch idea like Shark Tank or something. And it's like reviewed and then we can like have a prize or something or like have an investment in the idea. And we can maybe do that on like our career opportunity day. That's where like incorporates some aspect of like teams selling something by like pitching an idea. Not really sure how this will work, but that's what we do.
No, I like the creativity of that. I think would be something again for the commission and committee of looking at, I love the creativity, just thinking of how you go about running that, who judges it. And like, what are the parameters of like the pitched idea of like, is it a good that they made, or is it truly like an idea, like a product? Because I know there could be a difference, like a product versus like, I crocheted all these sweaters, like, and just again, like having that parameter of what is it like the best good type of thing, or is it like a new innovative, like Shark Tank is typically more of like an innovative product, like a, wow, this is like the phone answers itself. You know, some type of product versus like, I sewed this blanket, which is still a huge accomplishment. Like I have no art craft skills with that. So like, I'm amazed when people can do that, or they painted something, like all really great skills, but potentially not necessarily like a Shark Tank idea. So it'd just be, again, something to talk through of what that looks like. But I do love the creativity there for sure.
We would also have to think about who would be sponsoring this, what would the prize be, how would we be getting the prize? Like, those are all things you can definitely work out later, but you should keep in mind, like, definitely at the start of whatever the project is as well.
Totally. Yes. Good point. So
Is that the end of our work plan?
that is the end of the work plan. I wanted to see if there's any other thoughts and from that subcommittee specifically too. But really, I think that keeps an opportunity fair. And like I said, you have time, but right now is where we want to at least get the bare bones of it all fine tuned. And then like Sophie said, of like, you do want to think about now of like, cool, you want to have prizes at it. That's great. You have plenty of time to figure out what that is, but like starting the conversation now of like, we want to have the prize be a gift card that we're able to source from downtown. So that will mean like 3 months from the event, we each go out and talk to 5 businesses and see what we can get. So like you have time to flesh that out, and that will be something for everybody's committee of like, everyone's gonna make basically a timeline of all the action items. And I will also help you kind of map that out, and I'll kind of poke some of those questions in there of like, great, that's great. What about this? What about this? So that way you can start to really get that traction on that. But for this subcommittee, at least having more of the bare bones of like, what does the opportunity fair look like? And I challenge you to not have it look like last year's job fair. I think there's a lot more opportunity to make it more of an opportunity fair, and having more pieces to it, and like seeing how you want to have that. Or maybe there is a speaker that talks about, maybe there's you have different opportunities in the booths that are set up around the room, but you have certain times of the day where you have a speaker come up and they talk about how teams can learn how to sell, or how they can like grow if they want to have more of that entrepreneurship in the future. And you have like a speaker and they come from like 10 to 10:30 is somebody really cool speaking about this. And then an hour later, maybe there's a career counselor that comes and talks for 30 minutes and people can still go around the room. It's just kind of looking at what you want the event to be. And then also looking a little bit more into what's your more passive or partnership event, and having kind of really trying to tie in where your education part is coming from. Because right now it's just the career part. So I'd love to see something tie in the education piece, and that can be more of your passive or partnership second component. And maybe that's finding a way to partner with your schools, or like, I know Campbell Library, they actually, I think this Wednesday, they are doing a like college essay workshop and how to prep for your college essay, and I'll share that link in Slack. But that's another great resource of maybe you're partnering with them of doing some type of, they're already doing some type of event to help students prep for college or different educational pieces. So that's something that I would encourage your group to kind of look into that. Any questions on any of that?
Great. Okay, so now we're going to move on to our new business, which first up is pizza and politics. So if everyone could just take a little minute to look at the flyer. Like we said before, Wednesday, October 30th, 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. Commissioners should be there at 6, I guess or earlier to help set up.
It'll probably be, and I will get this for you shortly of the exact time for setup, because I'm still kind of TBD, because as a reminder, we partner with Cupertino in Saratoga. The event itself, 6:30 to 8:30, the doors for the event open at 6. My guess is commissioners will have to be there anywhere between 5 and 5:30. I put 5 on there just as like, I'd rather give you an earlier time, and we could always have you come a little bit later, but just kind of keeping that in mind. Just because we'll be talking about these commissioner roles, but I know there'll be some prep work with that. So TBD exactly on the arrival time, but I would say anywhere between like 5:30, doors open at 6.
Yeah, and since we're partnering with 2 other commissions, as you can see, there's a bunch of commissioner roles to fill, but each role can probably only have about 1 commissioner from ours, since we are partnering with 2 other cities. So for the moderator, it's usually vice chair or chair, but I personally really want to do the roundtable discussions. So Archit, do you want to do the moderator, or if you want to, okay. Okay,
And Sophie, I'm just gonna chime in really quickly. The roles that Sophie's gonna help with kind of getting everyone's interest in assigning for these. As you can see, there's not enough for everyone to have a specific role. So there is only really an opportunity for one of our commissioners to take each of these, since there'll be another one from Saratoga and Cupertino. It doesn't mean that you won't be involved if you don't do one of these, or don't want to do one of these. Everyone will still be involved on the day of. So I do want to preface that. And there'll still be involvement there and having that participation piece. These are just having kind of a more designated specific task on the day of. And you might still be assigned. So let's say if Mason's like, I really don't want to do any of these roles, which is completely fine. I would still probably on the day of be like, all right, Mason, cool, I got a job for you. Like, this is what we're gonna have you do. You're gonna help greet people, you're gonna do this and that, like, you're still gonna have a presence and be involved. So I just do wanna put that out there that everyone will still have a role on the day of. These are just more specific roles. And I'm also happy to kind of talk about what the role means, if there's any questions. This is also my very first time doing pizza and politics, because they do it every 2 years, so I haven't done it before. But I'm in collaboration with the staff liaisons from both the other cities for this team. So happy to chat more about this if there's questions, but I'll let Sophie help to lead for people who have interest in the roles to speak up, and then we can help divvy those out.
Yeah, I definitely think whether you have a role or not, this is a great way to practice your social networking skills, because I think that's really key, especially if you're part of a city committee. And if you want to have a specific role and someone else wants to have it, you two can talk it out, or hopefully we can figure something out. Okay, anyway, the moderator is supposed to be a moderator between conversations, and Gracie told me that our commission will probably be moderating the team debate. Also, keep in mind that if you're like camera shy, because there's probably going to be a bunch of people, maybe, keep that in mind. So intro remarks. Also, again, usually chair or vice chair, but since Archit already has a role and I hopefully we'll also have a roundtable discussion. Is anyone else allowed to do it?
Mhm.
Does anyone want to do it? It's like a little 5-minute speech about what the event is, who we are, why we're here, stuff like that.
I would say, and also, Sophie mentioned, so it is on camera, so they
Yeah.
do, Cupertino has they do a whole production of everything, so putting that piece out there for really all of these, but I do think really these first
Three.
three are gonna be most heavy in the sense of like, you'll be on stage, you'll have that presence there. And really, I would say if you are more comfortable, public speaking is who I'd like to see in these roles too. So if you want to try it, but you're like, I don't like public speaking, it's not my thing, but I want to try it for the very first time at this event, I'd say maybe let's try in a different role for that one. I would love to have someone who it wants the challenge, but like does have a little bit more comfort, like it's more comfortable.
Yeah.
Public speaking. And for this, it's not necessarily a 5-minute speech. The whole segment is 5 minutes for this. So it is more of an intro of, again, sharing who you are, sharing we are as a commission, and then kind of introducing the next segment. So those 3 segments at the top. So basically, if you were introducing the teen debate, you'll kind of give a quick overview, like now we're going into the teen debate. The teen debate will feature 2 students who represent Campbell, 2 students who represent Saratoga, and they will be debating blah, 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 blah.
Will you be like helping us like prepare for this speech like the speech?
Yes, so for all of this too, great question. For all of this, yes, I will be helping and sharing resources for everybody involved. So for the moderator as well, so for you, Archit, for that, we'll also have a special kind of more or less training and sharing what that looks like for you and the other 2 moderators. Because the moderator is very important because they, like, obviously, like I will be there, there'll be other adults there that we are helping, but the event truly is like led by you all, like led by the teens. Like we are there, we obviously have a presence, and like I will step in if for some reason I'm like, whoa, I need to step in. However, it will be the moderator and you'll get kind of training of like how to best navigate, because the moderator also is like helping to, like, if someone in the back starts talking, like since it's live, like let's say you had a teen in the back being like, and they're going off, like you are the one up there with the mic of like trying to go with like, oh, well, I hear we have like some participation in the back. I'd like actually love to bring it back over to here to Sophie. Like you are helping to moderate what's happening. So we'll kind of go over training of what that looks like, best practices, for intro marks or like roundtable discussion also for questions, like we'll share the questions ahead of time. So anyone who's participating in that, like you'll have that information ahead of time. It's also knowing though, and as we kind of get down here, there will be audience participation. So there'll be probably some questions that might get asked of you or might get asked, like if you're helping to moderate, that like, yeah, they're off the cuff and you don't know what you're going to be asked. So it's knowing that piece too. There's going to be a lot that's very structured and planned out. And we'll share all of that with all of you. But there is that component of like, who knows? Susie could ask a really weird question and you have to know also, and I would trust with this group, and we'll talk about it, like handling it professionally and being able to like usher those questions. So like if I was asked a really weird question on the spot, I wouldn't go, that's stupid. Like I'm answering that. Like you have to be able to compose yourself or know, like, I would love to answer that question, but maybe we could rephrase it in a different way. Or like, I mean, I can talk about what that looks like, but of really knowing and feeling comfortable to be able to have that presence. It's a great presence to have in life and with this, because I also guarantee you there'll be times in life where you get asked weird questions and you have to be composed and be able to articulate and have a professional response. So I'm not sharing that in any way to scare anybody off from any of these, but it is just sharing that like it is a live event. And so there's going to be different audience participation. So being able to usher through those.
I fully have faith in anyone who chooses to do any of these roles, but especially for the first three, since they are more predominantly speaking roles, like it is expected that you are well prepared for this event and that you're practicing. Like you should not just read the script the night before and show up. Like you should be committed, have smooth responses. Not saying it has to be perfect, but it should definitely be well rehearsed. So if you're not ready to make that time commitment, then you should definitely think about which role you want to choose. And if you choose not to have one, that is completely fine because you're still going to be helping out in the event. Okay. Does anyone really want to make the intro remarks? Yasmin, does anyone else want to? Going once, going twice? Okay, Yasmin. Okay, and does anyone besides me really want to do the roundtable discussion?
This one would need to be a returning commissioner, just because the questions that they'll be asking for this piece will be a little bit more catered towards, like previous experience from being in youth commission, having a little bit more, experience under their belt. So they'll be asking questions that would still be relevant to everyone in this room, of like why you chose youth commission, things like that, and the impact, but it will be a little bit more heavy of like, what have you achieved, like a little bit more from that. So I would say for this one, we would need two commissioners, so basically one more. So it would basically be any of our, if there's an interest from other returning commissioners. So Sunita, Mason, Ion, Caleb. Oh yes, I'm sorry, Jane. So I think that would be it. Yes. Is there any interest from any of you all?
Don't be shy. Don't be shy. It's okay. Do we need two or is it 1 to 2?
I believe they want to.
Okay. We'll come back to this
We
one.
can circle back for that. So I would say, I also like fully believe any of you would be a great, truly a great candidate for it. And this one, like I said, there'll be questions that we'll share with you in advance.
Okay. Oh,
I have a question. So what is the role of the audience question participation?
Yeah, so, and I'm happy to, if you don't mind, Sophia, I'll like do a quick overview of some of these before you vote or raise your hand. So for the next one, the floor manager roving microphone. So this one, I would say would be good for someone who doesn't necessarily want any talking roles, but just wants to be a really big help. So this one is more kind of like it sounds. We'll have audience participation and people who have questions. This person will be the person who's like, oh, I see over on the left, they have a question. I'm gonna walk them over the mic and be like, oh, perfect. Awesome. Oh, now person over there, I'm gonna go and hand them the mic. So it's not a talking role. It will be just more important of like, you need to be paying attention, which all of you should be paying attention anyway, but of helping to find the need. Like I said, there'll be, two others from the other city, so we'll probably just have you kind of stationed around the room. So if you have a question that's closer to your corner, you'll go and help and usher the microphone and vice versa from the other commissioners from their
is
cities.
there 4 for this one?
I'm not, they said 1 from each city for now, so
Okay.
3 people that will help with the roving mic, so that is that piece. Registration check-in will be
What it
kind of,
is.
yeah, kind of what that is, helping with check-in. Stage crew, again, I'm not exactly sure the depth of how much this piece is, so that I'm happy to get more clarity on if someone has interest. But I'm not 100% sure how much setup. But it's mostly, I would think it's not huge. It's gonna be in between segments. So like, if they have a chair on stage that the mayors are there, they have like 3 sofa chairs, like, oh, let's move this. Cool, now we have this for the commissioner. So it's just gonna be minor stuff in between the segments. So somebody to help with that. Audience planted question participation. So that one is a talking piece. So again, this is a good opportunity for someone who wants to talk, but it's not necessarily having speech or anything. It is basically a chance for, I don't know if you've ever been to an event, but I always think it is super hard when you're like, anyone have a question?
Yeah.
Right? That's all right now. You feel the crickets. Like, this is an opportunity. So, and we'll talk with the people who are part of this as well. You will basically, we give the audience first preference. So maybe the audience is super great and you might not have to do anything. The audience is really chatty. Do I think that's likely? No, I feel like it always usually takes a little bit to kind of get the audience going. So this person's role would basically be, and whether you figure out the question or we help write the question of like, you have your question ready to go of like, let's say Samita is doing this piece and she's like, okay, I'm in charge of having a question ready for the mayor's roundtable. And she's our set person for that. She will open it up to questions. If she counts and goes like, two, no one's asking, she'll be like, oh, perfect. You're like our planted question in the audience. And then that way, they'll also have one from Cupertino, Saratoga. So that way, there's always guaranteed some questions, some audience participation in each segment. So that way you avoid it being like crickets the whole time, because that is just the worst feeling when you ask and nobody has it. So I'm hoping also like maybe you give it and the next time an audience member asks out, because they feel a little bit more at ease, because usually it just takes sometimes one person to ask and they feel more comfortable to now ask their question. I also will say this is a specific role. I would challenge all of you to like, you don't have a role or you want to ask a question, like you are still all welcome to ask a question. It doesn't mean like that was the one person who's designated for asking a question, bless you, and none of us are allowed to. Like I would still encourage the group, like if you have a question, like please ask. Like the event is for teens and we want to have people more involved. This is just a person who's like, that's their job for the night of like, we know at least one question is going to be asked in this segment from Campbell, and that's that person. And then the last two, obviously, are kind of more self-explanatory, helping with parking at the prior to the event. So that'll again be just kind of ushering people in, kind of pointing where to go. Then you'll obviously come inside for the actual event and be just part of it. And then food assistant setup, again, like you'll be there and just kind of assisting us of like setting up pizza and just kind of being extra set of hands and support with that piece. And then I would imagine, again, like I said, if you don't sign up for any of these roles, like you still might get roped into helping with parking or food or something like that. So these are just people who I know I can count on of like, great, Ethan said he's my food assistant person. Awesome. I know if I came in with pizza, I'd be like, okay, Ethan, can you please help set these up? Like, I know he's my go-to person, but it might still mean that I might ask like Jolie and Miles, be like, hey, like Ethan needs a hand and like they can come over. So just wanted to clarify that.
Right. So now that we've gone over descriptions, does everyone want to be a floor manager, keeping things smooth? You don't have to talk, just, being really helpful, being attentive. Great. Okay, and I know that Sarah wanted to do registration check-in. Does anyone else like really want to check people in? You want it? Did she?
She
To tell you.
She messaged me because I know, so she let me know she wasn't able to make it for tonight. Let me triple check. Yes, she's really interested in registration check-in. She shared reasons why. So like, if there's someone else that is also interested in it, that's totally fine. We can kind of share reasons why. She's not guaranteed that spot. I just wanted to share that yeah.
So does anyone else really want to do that? No, great, okay. So stage crew setup, transitions. Okay, great. Anyone else? Oh crap, I wrote it for the wrong one. Okay, and audience planted question. Pick. Anyone else? I think, can we have multiple?
Need
Mason?
to.
No.
Oh, okay, parking assistant. Okay, Mason. And food assistant setup. I would strongly encourage anyone who does not have a role to try and volunteer for one of.
I'll go for it.
All right, Samita, did you really want to do that? I feel like we can have multiple for this one. Isn't it a
Like
lot
I
of
said,
things?
I want at least one that's like, we know we for sure have one go-to person. Like I said, we'll probably have more people that get
Yeah.
roped in and helping, just in general of helping.
We'll just put Ethan and Samita for now. Okay, let's circle back to roundtable discussion. I think this is really exciting. Does anyone want to do it? Samita? Or Mason or Yasmin or Ion? Well, actually, Yasmin, you have a speaking role. So, and Mason, I think you could do both if you
There we go.
really wanted to. Ion, or Samita, do any of you feel confident? Or Caleb. Caleb, are you there?
Any Tom?
Hello? Oh,
Oh, he said maybe.
maybe? Okay. Well, if we can't decide today, I am like personally okay doing it by myself, but I think they really want a second person. Which
Caleb as a maybe. And Caleb, I can also, I mean, I know you've been able to hear this part of the conversation, but I can share more information via Slack, but I would say for this, I'm gonna make a hard deadline of by the end of this week to have this part, the roundtable discussion, second person solidified. So I would say like by this Friday, that one's locked in, and then everyone else. Thank you so much for volunteering for all those pieces. You'll be our go-to people. And like I said, everyone will still have a role in the day of. Those people just be our go-tos for those specific roles.
And the event rehearsal will be taking place the day before, so October 29th, 6 to 7 p.m., but only for those who are moderating or part of a segment. So does that mean Archit? Is Yasmin gonna be doing it too?
I'll clarify, Yasmin, for the intro for that, but I know not everyone has to be there because it will just be basically a speaking role. I'm not gonna have you all come out here not having that. And then I will also get that final clarity of arrival times for day, but I would say plan for right now for between 5 and 5:30, and then I'll give you that like finalized time for that.
And Caleb, if you want to do the speaking role, you do have to, like, I think you do have to come for the 6 to 7 p.m. on
Mhm.
October 29th, if you want to do it. Great, we got a thumbs up, great. Okay, does anyone have any questions on pizza and politics, any roles they want to fill? Anything?
I have one other piece that I'll share. The roles, I think, great. Two last pieces for pizza and politics. I do want to give an update for team debate. So, as you saw in Slack, I reached out about the team debate. That'll be our final segment of the event. And so for that, it will be 2 teams representing Campbell, 2 teams representing Saratoga that will be having the debate. And the topic is California banning single-use plastics. And so they will be debating on that. And I don't know if any of you have ever watched like a formal debate before or anything like that, or watch your speech and debate team, but they follow a specific format. For that, it'll be 30-minute long segment with that. Thank you to those who have reached out to me or have already reached out to their schools, like speech and debate contacts. I do want to share an update of, I'm currently pending an update from Westmont's speech and debate coach. Yes, so I reached out to him, so he said he'll let me know by tomorrow. Anisha also shared that there's high interest from MIDI, which would be also awesome. So I am waiting till tomorrow morning to reach out to MIDI because I know you just shared that with me today. If Westmont is like confirmed, great. I'll still reach out to your contact to let them know that we have a confirmed space from Westmont. If Westmont is not able to, then I will be right away asking MIDI. I still think if there's other contacts to let me know, because as you can already guess, we're getting close to that time and really need to confirm our 2 candidates who will be representing Campbell for the speech and debate
With
team.
these candidates, is this not the same as the roundtable discussion?
No, so yeah, this one's different. So the team debate isn't necessary. It's not from our commission source. It's sourced from our commission in the sense of you all are helping to find the teams to participate, or like, let's say if you were in a speech and debate team, wanted to be in this, awesome, or you don't have to be in the team. It's more of like, you should have experience of doing some type of speech and debate to participate in this. So this outreach would be, I know some schools don't have a speech and debate team, but if your school does, reaching out to the coach and then forwarding that information to me so I can help with following up, Ethan.
Are we allowed to ask other schools that we're not a part of to see if their debate team would be interested?
Do you know other schools? Are you,
Yeah, because Bellarmine is one of the best, in my opinion.
Well,
Student debaters.
Caleb actually goes to Bellarmine and he just shared a contact too. And I haven't reached out to his yet because I also just got it. So basically, I'm in a waiting period with Westmont until tomorrow morning. If they say yes, great, like we have it locked down. If not, I'll probably tandemly reach out to MIDI and Bellarmine and give them a tight turnaround of like, we also need to know by like the end of this week or by Monday of like, is there interest? Can they lock this down? Because we'll have to have the two represent Campbell. And like I said, they don't have to be Campbell residents. The important piece would be that they're sourced from our commission, who is from Campbell, and that the students know like they're representing Campbell. But no, they don't have to be residents, or like I know, there's a good handful of you that aren't technically part of like Campbell Union School District. So that's totally fine. So I did want to share that update. And the final update for Pizza and Politics before we move on, make it just very quick, is it is on all of you to be sharing the event itself at school and with teens. So obviously, like there's the parts we already talked about of participating, and we'll need teen debaters to participate in the event, but really of helping spread the word for attending the event. So I have physical flyers that I'll have you all take before you go to share these at school. So if there is, I don't know, every school's different, like a bulletin board or a case that you can put this in or share it with, like I know when I went to Prospect, they had morning announcements and you could talk to the media team and asking them to put it on the morning announcements, whatever that be for you. I also would ask, especially those of you that are seniors and even those of you that are not, I know seniors typically take like government econ senior year, going up to those teachers, and whether you feel comfortable speaking to your class and saying like, hey, this is happening, or at least sharing with your teacher to say, hey, Mr. Bob, like the Pizza and Politics event is happening. Like, can you share this with the class? It's a great opportunity. You can also give me their contact information because I'm happy to give them an email follow-up too. But basically, I reached out to a lot of schools already of letting them know like, we're happy to support a extra credit opportunity. Obviously, it's the teacher's discretion to allow it. But if that's something that they want to do, we'll have a form there for students to take back to the class to say like, hey, I attended this event, bring it back to the teacher to show that they were there so they could get credit. So really just helping to communicate that with your teachers. So that is my big ask and kind of homework for everybody here. And like I mentioned before, the success of these events really stems from all of your outreach that you do. So I will leave these here at the front.
Take
And I will email them to you. So if you need to print more, if you don't have a printer, like I can easily print more and give them to you. If you're like, I really want like 20, I can help get that for you. But for tonight, I think I print enough for like everyone to take at least 2. Because I know the school probably doesn't want you putting them everywhere, but like so that you have some type of presence or sharing on your, like I said, their morning announcements and whatnot for that.
Let's keep in mind that advertising more was one of our original goals, so please do. Okay, does anyone have any questions about stuff we talked about?
Will the flyers be available on the PDF?
Yes, yeah, I will share that tomorrow morning. So you'll have the PDF first, and then obviously you're welcome to take the physical copy, but you'll have all of that. And so that way you can share it with teachers or via email, or like I said, if there's any, I would love for you to reach out to your teachers, but I'm more than happy to help give a follow-up to them, because the hard part is like, there are some teachers like I can't email because they like only share their email access to like internal, like to you all. Like, so there's some schools like I can't see their email address to contact them unless I'm part of the school district, if that makes sense. Like, which makes it a little bit harder for my end to try to get in contact. So that's where I really lean on all of you to help with that, or helping to provide me some of those, like I said, with the speech and debate coaches, because there's no way for me to find that information. It's all really internal. So I'm happy to help with follow-up or giving them more information as needed, or questions, but love that initial contact comes from all of you.
Okay, if that's all, we should move on to the October fun run. I think this should like relatively quick.
Mhm. Yeah, it's pretty quick.
So sign up using our volunteer forms, and it's, like we said before, a great opportunity to share with all your friends. I'm gonna share it with our CSF club because I know everyone needs volunteer hours. And for people who are wondering what the hours are, it's 8 to 11:30 a.m. And I just want to say that unfortunately on that day, I can't attend the event. I'm sorry, guys. So if you have questions, I'm redirecting you to Archit. Thanks, Archit. Okay, does anyone have any questions about that? Jolie? Yes.
So like, are we like, all of us are basically like signed up to volunteer?
Well, you still need to fill out the form, but like since you're on the youth commission, yeah, you're supposed to go.
Like, I saw the forms like sign up meetings, I filled out.
Yeah,
It's
mhm.
not okay. and
Yeah.
not really fun.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have jobs. already.
Yes. Well, you need to fill it out individually, just like, I don't think there's specific jobs you need to sign up for, right? Yeah.
No, it should just be, and I'll share it in Slack in the morning, because Lauren, I don't know if everyone's met Lauren Council, she is our rec supervisor, and she helps to coordinate the fun run and the volunteers. And so she created that Sign Up Genius link, which I'll put in our Slack channel. So that'll be also the same link that you will share with friends. There's an opportunity for, I would say Saturday, the actual fun run is where you want to see commissioners. There's an opportunity. So if you have friends that are like, I can't do Saturday, but I really want hours, there's still opportunities on the Friday, so the night before, that helps with packet pickup. And they do that over at Sports Basement. So that's a chance to help distribute race packets, shirts, goodie bags for people who are registered. And Saturday obviously is the event itself. And there's a lot of different roles that we have various needs for. So helping, like, there's really fun roles like cheering on the runners, passing out medals, waters, setup, breakdown, like helping direct people like further down. Because there's part of it's a 10K. So obviously like further down where you're helping to make sure like they're turning the right way, which is a very important job too, because like it takes a village basically to put the whole event on. So we'll help with assigning what those tasks are that morning of, but of just sharing and signing up. And I saw already some of you have already signed up, so thank you, thank you. And I will put this link in our Slack channel by tomorrow morning.
Probably open earlier, are we like?
No, wait, just get there at 8:30, eight
think that's-
a.m. That's plenty early, I think.
How is-
Yes, make sure you're repping the merch, guys. Okay, anyone else have any questions? Nope. Okay, we will be moving on to our calendar reminders and then we can all go home. So October 15th, we have city council presentation at 7 p.m. So me and Archit will be presenting to city council and the mayor. And all of you guys are expected to attend in support to see our awesome work plan. Okay, and then October 19th is our Oktoberfest that we just talked about. October 21st, we have our subcommittee meeting at 7 p.m. It's a Monday. It's going to be in the preschool rooms that we were in last time. Make sure you're talking in Slack before then. And then October 30th, pizza and politics. We all know what that is. If you need a refresher on your roles, email or message me through Slack or get my number and you can text me. And that's it. Does anyone have any questions? If not, okay. I adjourn this meeting at 8:19 p.m. Thank you all for coming. If you have questions, again, feel free to ask.
I do want to really quick, this will be really quick. Let me answer this. Hi, Caleb.